Hello, guys. Stand by for a quick intro. If I can find
Welcome back to another episode of the Strongman Winner Circle podcast. I'm your host, Nicholas Canby, and today it's episode 82 with Evans Nana of Ghana. In only a few years, Evans has won a few international shows, has made appearances at World's Strongest Man, Giants Live, the Magazine for Magazine Classic, and also is a regular on the Strongman Champions League Scene. So let's tune in with Evans to figure out why he's so strong, why he's so fast, why does he compete so much, and what is he even in store for next year and beyond on today's episode of the Strongman Winner Circle podcast with the Ghanaian gladiator, Evans Nana of Ghana. Today's episode is sponsored by Tsunami Bar Sports.com, and Canby shirts are available at oddobjects.co in the description below. And if you're enjoying all the episode, consider being a member and supporting all things Canby Dude. And without further ado, here is Evans Nana. The Ghanaian gladiator, Evans Nana. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Nick. That was a very good introduction, man. Whoa.
Yeah, I went through, of course. I always forget how well Strongman Champions League does good with interviews and posting some of their videos on YouTube. So I was able to find some awesome clips. But yeah, thank you for coming on. How are you enjoying cold Madison, Wisconsin?
I mean, it's amazing. It's overwhelming. I've seen things I never thought I'm going to see. It's beautiful. God bless America. I'm enjoying it.
Excellent. So you're down there for the official Strongman games, of course, the Super Bowl for a lot of the weight class and of course the Masters men, and then also we'll find out which guys are potentially going to Giants Live and potentially World's Strongest Man. So what are you doing for this weekend? Are you helping out, doing commentating, social media, a little bit of everything?
Oh, yeah, exactly. I'm here to do a little bit of everything, literally give back to the sports, because I should have been here like 3 years ago, and I got to know Len through the sports, and I really respect what he does. So being able to give back in any way, volunteering, is something I enjoy doing personally.
All right, excellent. Well, of course, I think all the athletes will appreciate having you there and check out. It'll be some pretty interesting, competitors, a lot of great guys. So I think it'll be a fun weekend. And then shout out to Austin Andrade. Thank you for tuning in. Two of your favorites? Oh, come on, man. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Austin. I want to talk about kind of your great year. We were talking a little bit of off season. You've on Strongman Archives, it says you've competed 13 times, but it sounds like you competed maybe close to the high teens, maybe 20 times this year. How's the body feeling?
To be very fair, I'm doing really good as compared to last year, because I ended last year with a biceps injury, which was really traumatizing. This was my first injury having like professional injury. So this year has been very good, and I'm very happy with how things stand out. Feeling very healthy.
Now that bicep injury, was it a reattachment, or was it like more of a muscle belly tear?
It was a muscle belly tear, because I was really stressing, because I never had any injury before. And yeah, we both know strongman is a very brutal and very rude, not rude, but very, it's going to take everything you got from you. And it's something I got to understand right after the muscle belly tear. I mean, in the middle of Giants Live, can you imagine the World Tour Finals last year?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have some experience in terms of hurting my bicep during Giants Live, so I know how it feels with all those eyes on you and everything. But so of course, I was taking a look. So we mentioned a little before. So you started your season around April, and then ended your season just recently, like late November. So fitting in all those contests. What does your training look like in between those shows? Are you in the gym like a couple days right after the show? Like what does your training look like competing that frequently?
To be very honest with you, I really give big credits to my coach, Loss, who understands my chaotic rhythm. I mean, we focus on treating these shows, these minor shows, like an event day where you get to like mix and match events and you get to do better. And then you're going back to the gym on a Monday. So that's how I see things. So that has really helped Laws and myself cope with how things go. It's not been easy though, because sometimes I do get lost in the rhythm, but he still directs me and he still guides me because he's the mastermind that makes the coaching and the program to suit my style. Because like I said, I do get lost in the rhythm sometimes as well. It's really hard to keep up.
So what do you do? Like if you get lost in the shuffle and of course working between the different events, like what do you do? Like what would you suggest to listeners that want to compete often? Like, is there a certain way to decompress after a show and get right back into training? Like what methods have you found that are most useful for you?
It comes down to the mindset, like I said, because knowing when to give your all and knowing when to pull back a little bit also became an advantage I had. Because with Laws, he's done almost every competition from the SCL to Giants Live to World's Strongest Men. So with his expertise, I'm able to kind of find an RPE system for every show and every competition. So for example, the Strongman Champions League happens to be a scoring point system where you accumulate points all over the year. And most people kind of burn out mid-season, which becomes a disadvantage to them. So you kind of ramping up things slowly. It's a must, and it's a thing you'd have to understand. So I don't really go into every show with 100% focus. I do go there sometimes with almost no prep as advised by my coach, so then I see what happens, and I get to use this as an experience building phase.
All right, excellent. So I imagine, like on that list, I saw that you competed in SCL Martinique down the Caribbean, and then a few weeks later you did the World's Strongest Man. So was that World's Strongest Man? Was that like your first big peak of the year? Is that kind of where you guys were focusing on?
To be very honest with you, I started with Laws. That was I think after New Year, so that was from December. So it was a short prep because he didn't know me, and as the saying goes, you still have to get to know your coach. It's like a 3-month period where you still get to mix and match and see how things goes. So it was a little bit of a chaos in the beginning because he didn't know who I was and I had to adapt to his style. So that took a lot of time and that kind of slowed down a whole lot of process. So doing Martinique was to rebuild my confidence and see what I could have done at Worlds. So that was kind of like a KPI to see where I'd gotten to, which wasn't so bad because I think I came set of it in the show going to Worlds. And that's when I met Tristan Holt, the monster. So going to Worlds, I wasn't too confident because I was so much in my head and so much in my thoughts. And then obviously having to be in the same group with Kane Francis was a big disaster for me personally because I was still building my momentum and my mindset because I couldn't focus on myself. We both shared the same vision and the same passion, and we had talks prior to this. So being in the same group with him was a bit distracting to me personally because I wanted to see him do good and I wanted to see myself do good. So it was a big challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you got some tough guys in your group. You also had Marcus Crowder and Pavel Kordiaka and all. And of course, the legend in terms of Rano in your group. But you and Kane have done, of course, a lot of SCL shows, but you guys have gone head to head. Almost double digits now in terms of head-to-head matchups. So I imagine it's a lot of familiarity in terms of his strengths and what you can do. But I imagine there's also a lot of camaraderie in terms of going against a buddy like that.
Kane personally was my Big Z. If I would put that in terms Big Z is Big Z is one of the legends in the sports. Kane Francis had a very good season with me starting the Champions League because I had a wild card. So seeing Kane literally podium in the World Cup, the Champions League final in his first year was a big turn on for me to really do good. So that's when I adapted as coach, Josh Lancaster at the time, and I adapted as dietitian because I wanted to know what he was doing, what secrets he had. So I just tried to do everything just like he did, and that's when the friendship started. And the friendly rival actually began because the goal of trying to beat him and he trying to beat me began from there, and we both got better at the same time. And this is to each and every strongman out there. Finding a positive rivalry literally turns up your game up. You need that. We could see LeBron James and Michael Jordan actually practice this in their various sports. That's when they became the best of the best. You need rivalry, but positive, not negative rivalry. So Kane literally has been a very big pushing factor to my maybe excellence or to my building phase, I'd put it.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's a very intense competitor. So, but I did like your analogy. I like your analogy to Big Z. So I always, to every show, we always
show grace. I always say what's up to Big Z. So Big
Big
Z, the greatest of all time. But I was mentioning before, you've done like 10 SCL. It looks like you did 10 SCL shows this year.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you have a favorite? And
in terms of SCL, I'm really privileged to see the world, travel, meet new cultures, meet new people. Because coming from Ghana, one of my goals was to see the world, like to experience new cultures and to learn from this. So my best SCL so far, I would say, was South Africa, because that was my first time in a long time returning back to the continent. I was born in Ghana and I moved to Belgium when I was like 14. So I'm 26 now, and it's been almost is it 12 years since going back. So going back to South Africa, or going back to the African continent, I didn't know what to expect and what to see, because I had stuff about South Africa being very, very hostile for everyone, being very dangerous. So I was a bit nervous, but I didn't know what to expect in terms of strongman wise. I had the best time of my life there. It was really personal, and it was an eye-opening experience. I don't know if you know the tabletop mountain, about the 7 wonders on the earth. I think it's part of the 10 wonders or something.
yes, I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, so my hotel was literally next to the mountain, and being able to see this in person was like a dream come true. Because it's unbelievable. Like each and everything I do, I'm really grateful for, because it adds up to the experience, and these are the things I get to die with. It's a personal experience, and it's all internal, basically. So South Africa, Cape Town was the best shows I did this year in terms of country-wise.
All right. Now, so you mentioned, so that was your first time returning back to Africa in over, 12 years, you said?
Yeah, 12 years.
All right, excellent. So I imagine you're probably the fans back home in Ghana probably want to come when you come back, maybe do a little showcase. I think that'd be cool if that's in the cards for you.
That is the whole goal of me doing Strongman, because I do believe the sports found me, and it was really strange. I've been doing the sports for 3 years, because I used to dream of being an accountant, a professional one. So I studied to be an accountant. I had my internship and everything. And along the line, COVID came in and gyms were closed. I was just training just to have fun. So gyms being closed, I saw this guy called Eduardo Van Put from Ghent. That's why I live in Belgium. And he was lifting stones and rocks, and he had a smaller place. So, lifting this log thingy. So I was like, that's pretty interesting, because if there's the only thing I could do to stay alive, why not? So I texted him and he gave me a go ahead. I wasn't really good at it, but I just enjoyed it, because anytime I showed up, there was this sense of accomplishment that came from doing this. So that's when I started doing my research. I got to know about Half Tall, I got to know about Big Z, got to know about John Paul Sigurdsson, because I was probably living on a rock. I didn't know anything about strength sports. Believe me, I'm still new and I'm still learning. So I got to know about the greats, about Brian Shawn and everything, and it was really overwhelming. So I checked locally to see what competition there was, and there was this competition, I think 3 hours away from my city, and I just signed up to do it. So with like almost 2 months of preparations, I came third in that competition. And that's what really gave me the boost I need. I was like, oh, maybe I was made for this. So I remember telling Eduardo, this guy, that, hey, one day I want to do Worlds, one day I'm going to be at the Giants Live. And he was really like overwhelmed. It's like, whoa, dude, slow down. Because he didn't know what vision I was operating on. But like, dreams do come to pass. It's so strange. So along the line, I had my first reality check where I signed up for a competition in Holland, and I came dead last. It really gave me a reality check, because I thought I was on top of the world, going in and out. And coming last there, that was my first high flip. I remember seeing those videos, and I was really feeling bad for my biceps, because my form was off the grid. I was just like trying to do everything from pure power, which was there, but the form, was needed. So then again, I signed up for my other international competition in Holland. In Germany, FIBO, the fitness something exhibition. Eddie Hall had done it before through the Champions League. So I did that, and I came, I think, top 6. That was the second boost I needed. So checking up along the line, I came across the Champions League, and I was really fascinated by that. So I was like, oh, what is this? Maybe I'm going to try. So I remember sending emails to Marcel, the coordinator, But of course, the man is pretty busy, so he couldn't get back to me. And I saw there was a qualifier in Finland. That's where I met Nathan Gautreaux for the first time. Yeah, and I met Jordan Osborne from Australia as well, Australian strongest man 2-time. So I signed up for this qualifier, and at that time I didn't have a lot of money, so you had to buy your own tickets and take care of everything. So I took the leap of faith and I just bought my tickets in just to go to Finland. People from Europe know Finland is one of the most expensive, Scandinavian countries to go to. So I bought tickets.
Interesting, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so Iceland is actually number one. Iceland is way expensive. Shout out to Magnus for the Magnus Classic, hosting 15 athletes. It's unbelievable, really. So yeah,
it was a great show.
Yeah, it was a really, really hardcore show. So coming back to what I was saying, flew to Finland, met the big boys, met Mika Toro for the first time. So it was Imatra Showdown. So that was supposed to be a qualifier for the Strongman Champions League. So I was really enthusiastic. I had prepared a little bit. I'd done my first 140 on log, so I was feeling really hyped up. And I went there. I came dead last. Nick. But one thing that happened is I enjoyed it, and the fans really showed me love, because I was expecting to have probably like some racist comments or like people show a feeling of disapproval. But the more and more I competed, the bigger smile I had, because I kept feeling accomplished. And Ilka, the deputy manager from the Champions League, realized there was something special about me. So despite coming last, still held my head up high, because I was representing Belgium at the time. I was like, yo, let's go, guys. The whole crowd was really like, hey, who's the guy? And right after the show, a lot of people rushed to take pictures with me, probably because I was black, I don't know. So Ilka came to me, he's like, dude, you're special, and I think you have something in you. And I do believe one day you could make it to World Strongest Man. Big shout outs to Ilka. I didn't believe myself. I didn't believe it. But I know it would have happened one day, but I didn't know at this space. So he spoke to Marcel about me and everything. And out of the full lineup, I was one of the only ones to have an invite to Romania. That was supposed to be my first Champions League. So it was really overwhelming. Like I said, I met Nathan Gautreaux. I met Gautreaux did exceptionally good at the show. Osborne did really incredible at the show. Mika did very good. They all came top 3 or top 4, I believe. It was like 13 athletes, and I was 13th or 11th. I came 11th, dead last. So Ilka gave me the chance, went to Romania, and I came 5th. I was like, whoa. So it was really volatile for me, but something was happening. I believe it was fate, or like a feeling. Like I said, Strongman found me. So that became consistently, and yeah, that's when everything started taking off in the Strongman Champions League. The rest was history.
Awesome. I love that. There's a lot of perseverance and taking that leap. All right. Sometimes you just got to put your faith in yourself in order to make that step in terms of what you really want to do and like what really drives you going forward. I love that story. It was interesting because go ahead, Evans.
I believe everyone would have their story. Strongman is like a journey. And the more and more you go through that journey, you begin to find yourself. I mean, breaking barriers, breaking boundaries, meeting friends who become family, and understanding how the world works, because Strongman is like a big world on its own, which has rules, which has, certain like guidelines, but like they say, guidelines are meant to be broken. And the people that become exceptionally good are the ones that literally break it, just like in the normal world. The best of the best literally break certain doors, they use certain ways to get into. So it comes down to this, using what you have to get what you want. That's what I believe the world is about, which passes on to Strongman.
Absolutely. When I was doing my research, when I was doing my intro, I was watching your interview with Half Euro. So you were saying just now how Half Euro was, of course, a big role model for you when you first started like getting into the sport and looking up who was who, and then you got a chance to compete with him. Of course, you guys went 1 and 2 in Dubai. How was that experience for you?
It was unbelievable. I then again had an imposter syndrome. The same feeling I had at World Strongest Man, because you come to a point where you question yourself, hey, is this really happening? Am I meant for this? Somebody wake me up, telling me to the fanboy stuff and, really switching on the competitive mode, which is very important for Strongman. So it was like a dream, but then I had to really switch it on, because Thor is Thor. He's one of the best. Apart from he's been one of the pushing factors promoting Strongman. from the Game of Thrones, you know, Strongman and everything. So he literally dragged more people into the sports. So I do have lots of respect for the man. And going head to head against him was like unbelievable, man. I don't know how to describe this, but I really, really, really was happy, and it was one of the best strongman times of my life. He gave me really lots of good advice. We had good conversations, and some things I could really pass on to for the rest of my life. Thor is a legend. Respect
That's
to
a
the
good
man.
one. What was your biggest takeaway from Thor in Dubai? What did you take
So
home that
Thor,
you think that
Thor,
he had
Thor.
an impact on you?
I remember before we stepped on the podium, right? So he was first and I was second. So George Suleiman from Holland, from Syria came third. So we're the only two athletes backstage, and he looked at me and he's like, "Brother, after doing the Game of Thrones, I was famous everywhere. I got the attention I needed. But then one thing that changed my life is the ability to treat people good, the ability to have an impact on people. Never change no matter how far you get." That's what he said to me. Try to be yourself and treat people with kindness and love and respect. That's what he personally said to me, and it really, really hit me so hard. Yeah, because for a man to like kind of look back on his life and see the mistakes he did and genuinely advise you based on what he did, I mean, meant everything. It's worth more than gold or money, because no one is going to give you money. But the quality advice at the game changes, and that's what he gave me.
Wow, that was very, very powerful, very wise words from a large man. So, yeah, I love that. So I'm going to kind of circle back into the SCL items, just because, of course, it was, of course, a huge part of your year, and of course, it's a very fascinating show. So it looks very interesting in terms of I would say the SCL setup, just because it looks like the shows are faster. Of course, you always have a great crowd. You guys are always playing to the crowd, and I hear you guys always have some of the best parties afterwards the contest as well. But like, for instance, like in terms of that setup, is there anything else on the circuit that's relatable to SCL shows, or is it kind of its own beast in terms of the way it's set up?
One thing that makes the SCL remarkable is the settings, because most athletes most athletes are used to competing indoors. I mean, and they do have advantage, you know, having the warmth and the like, let's say the whole arena thingy with a booster like drives them. The SCL happens to have this old school strategy that kind of like keeps with this old formats. I mean, believe you me, it's really annoying having events being changed like 1 or 2 hours before competition. But this happens in this SCL, which is really annoying sometimes. But what it does is it brings across a more all-round athletes, a more like ready to fight athletes. And to those of you or most of you all that don't know, the SCL only passes the events a week or sometimes a few days before comp. So unlike World's Strongest Man, unlike like let's say OSG, you sometimes have months to prepare for what you're going to do. With the SCL, you don't know what is coming up. It depends on every country, and you have like the events 3-4 days sometimes prior, or sometimes even on the plane. I remember in South Africa, which was the last stage for the final in Turkey this year, we were only given the events literally in a bus heading onto the airport. That we had to like shot put a 75-kilo stone just like in the Arnolds. And that kind of builds resilience as an athlete, because like when you listen to the big boys back in the days, they were like Magnus literally said, we're more privileged now, because back in the days you didn't know what was happening. You just had to take your belts, your shoes in your bag, just show up, and then you have this. And Laws even said they had to even compete at car parks. So with the SCL having this format, it produces quality of athletes that are mentally stronger and ready for everything. So that's the uniqueness of the SCL. Apart from traveling and apart from having those bigger parties, these are the carry-ons you get to have as an athlete. Like getting ready for whatever the situation is, and then tuning in the competitive mode.
Interesting. So it's really a true test of like who is the strongest that day, not necessarily who trained the best going into there. So yeah, I like that kind of interesting. That'll be an interesting contest to peak for, because, or even just to train for, you would kind of have to be more of a generalist and just be good at many different facets rather than really honing down on one area. And then, of course, another question on the SCL is, of course, the winner of this year, of course, he beat you out for the top spot. You're looking good, but I think you'll have it next year. But Reno now, is he the real deal?
To be very honest and fair with you, I've met so many strongmen. I mean, I'm coming and going, and I'm still learning from the sport. I do generally believe Reno is talented and is going to go places one day. Of course, big shout outs to Jakoš Kunwinko, one of the only men to like take Brian Shawn out in the group stages, which was really epic. And Brian had to do the stone off with the epic stone off with
Rano.
Rano was crazy. That was a work from Yako, and I think the world is never going to forget him. So Rano being inspired by this, coming in the bigger scene, I think he has a bright future. Like, he's personally really, I got to see him, I got to meet him. He's really humble, and he's a committed man with his wife, obviously, trying to make something out of himself, and he keeps getting better every time I see him. It's beautiful having these athletes, I mean, to compete with, because you also become better. But genuinely, I think the guy he has something to give to the world, for sure. He's really strong, and like I said, coming from a decent background and seeing this, I'm also inspired. I get to, like, you know, turn off my competitive skills and see who's really the best. But genuinely, the guy really has a great talent. His press and power, he almost has no weaknesses. And fun fact is, people started comparing him to Mitchell Hooper. That was really interesting to see, because Mitch almost has no weaknesses. And we still yet to see more from Rano. I mean, the world would love to see him. The world is waiting for the guy. Yeah, really strong, lovely, and positive as well.
Awesome. It's interesting because, of course, he looked like he just dominated a lot of the shows that he did. I think he was signed up for OSG. It doesn't look like he made the trip, but of course, I think we'll probably see him at some bigger shows next year.
Hopefully.
But one question. So a lot of the listeners that tune into the show, a lot of aspiring amateur strongman, of course, a lot of amateur heavies are coming onto of course, listen to the podcast now. But how does one get into the SCL or get into the Champions League? Like, how do they get noticed, or how do they get into the circuit? What's the best way, or what do you suggest?
To be honest with you, like I explained, the strongman world being like a whole system whereby there are rules and, you know, systems and guidelines. I do believe like rules are meant to be broken, yeah. So most people reach out to Marcel and everything, and I got to know Marcel. I literally like had the privilege of going through his phone, and the messages he receives and the emails he receives is really, really crazy. So the first year of my SCL, I had to pay for everything, which was an investment. I mean, most athletes are not willing to, because most athletes think they're privileged or they're on the level to get everything paid for them. And like I said, hearing Magnus' story, hearing like Law's story, I get inspired to even invest in myself to be better. So having invested in myself to this level, I find it a privilege. If I should have an invite, for example, to World Strongest Men, and they asked me to pay for my flights, pay for my hotel, I would have no problem doing this, because I really genuinely love the sports. So someone who's an amateur, someone who wants to start doing the SCL should be ready to kind of make an expense in the first year, which is bound to happen, because once you get to prove yourself, everything kicks off. Because let's be honest, with SCL, we have 16 stages, yeah, around the world, and it's quite you know, a trip and quite a field spread out, like in the Martiniques, like you mentioned, South Africa and everything. Marcel is looking for the best of the best, and sometimes he needs a convincing factor. And once you're able to convince him, he adds you directly to the crew. So, like I said, one day you'd have a shot, but then be ready to incur some cost for the first 1 or 2 shows. And once you really do kick some ass, trust me, you're meant to like do each and every show on a free base, and you could, fly to anywhere you want or request to do any show. That's what most people are now, is like a big shot, because they do expect the SCL to pay for everything. And I personally have seen Marcel bring money out of his pocket to support what he's doing, because he loves it. He's a very good man. He's really invested in people like me, people like Kane, and people like Ronald O'Neill as well, people like Ivor Smoke Stellings. So to him, it depends on who you are and how far you're willing to go. I mean, he believes in the best of the best. So it is possible. Keep sending the message, and once you have the shots, get ready to spend some money as an investment. And once it kicks off, you're set to go.
Sure. So it sounds like, of course, there's that networking aspect, but also you have to perform in other areas, other international shows or relatable competitions. So there is I would say, potentially in Europe and potentially America, there is a lot of shows where you can get high level. Like, for instance, I know Kitchton got his got through into the SCL through his performance at the Arnold Amateur. And he was able to, of course, impress the Finland promoters and get his way. So it's all about kind of performing well in front of the right people. So
yeah. To be
and
fair,
I always
like
say that seeing is believing.
Is it Brian? Yeah, Brian. Yeah. The first time I met
Brian,
Brian was in Finland and World Record Breakers. So I didn't know what to expect from this guy, but this guy was really good. I mean, I think he almost took third place because I came third in that show, but he wanted it and he was so good at each and every event because he kept getting better and better. And Marcel was really I think Ilke and Marcel were pretty convinced. And even he having to fight as well to the final was epic because I remember on the last show in South Africa, before Turkey, the final, there was spots for 2 people. And he was aware of this. I saw him literally grind his way out. And I overheard what the bosses were saying. He was like, man, this guy really wants it. So it comes down to this, who really wants it bad. And I do believe Brian has made a lot of investment as well from his side. You're friends of him, and if he could explain to you how it works, yeah, he's really spent a lot of money, and it shows how bad he wanted.
Absolutely, yeah. He's also from Massachusetts, so we've gotten some good training sessions in, and he's shared experience. But it's pretty interesting, of course, going forward. So I'll be excited to see kind of him on the scene next year. Maybe I'll be on the scene next year. We'll find out. But we got to go to a quick commercial break right now, Mr. Evans. So we got to do our Tsunami Bar. So 40 seconds.
Are you ready to shake up your training? Are you ready for your next challenge? Tsunami Bar Sports is here to boost your power, stability, and coordination. Whether you're superloading and using it to target barbell-centric movements or using it for ballistic weighted plyometrics for more sport-specific purposes, the Tsunami Bar has you covered. Our patented and flexible barbell technology is designed to help you improve in all things human performance. Discover the difference at Tsunami Bar Sports today. Visit tsunamisports.com to learn more. Use CANBY10 for 10% off of any Tsunami Bar product, or pause the screen and use the QR code. Now back to the show.
Have you ever messed around with a Tsunami Bar?
This is going to be the next big thing in Europe, can be. If the whole shipping thing could be very, I'm believing really, we need someone who's really going to make the big step and bring this to Europe, because most Europeans look up to the Americans and get stuff from America to Europe, which is a big thing. We want this in Europe. We're looking for it. And
I think right now they're working with. Yeah, they're working with a distributor going forward to getting more access to the UK and the rest of Europe. So it's going to probably eventually going to happen. But for the most part, it's funny because I always take a look, and I know somehow our buddy Lorenzo Jerry in Pisa got his hands on a Tsunami Bar, so he was able to get into it. But is it interesting? So, of course, in between your competitions, I watch a lot of your training. But I'm not sure if I had to guess, but what's your favorite event? What's out of all the strongman events, what do you like to do the most, or what's your favorite?
I used to think yoke and farmers was my favorite because I'm not a bigger strongman. I think we both share this factor because we happen to be the lightest. I'm just a 134, and I've tried as much as I could to get to 150. To most of you that don't know, I'm just a 185.5-ish, in between that, almost 186 centimeters. So So it's really hard to put on weight. So I like to run, or that's what I believed in. But as time goes on, I'm enjoying deadlifting lately, and I'm also discovering some other aspects in my strength journey. So I was limited to yoke and farmers in the beginning, which proved wrong in the Magnus Classic because of different factors. But then again, arm over arm also became very interesting. And it keeps switching because I'm new to the sports, and I'm open to learn. I'm open to do better. And once loss took over, my perception about everything is changing. So I'm still yet to find myself. But like I said, to the basic is yoke and farmers.
All right, interesting. One of so Davio is hopping in. What event do you like the least?
Oh, track pool. Why?
Track pool. All right.
I'm very light and very stout. So to be able to move a whole truck of for example, we go up to 30 tons sometimes in the SCL. I almost come last, and you can see from strength results, I'm not the best in track pool. So coming 8th, even it's a big win for me. Remember in the final, the track crew really brought my points down because I came 7th. And the bigger guys always the bigger and the taller guys have an advantage. Looking at Kevin De Ruiter from Holland, he's one of the best track puller in the world with long arms, long torso and everything, long legs, being able to push.
It's interesting because I've seen on the SCL a lot of times you guys do the truck pulls without any rope, so it's just all quad strength and leaning into it. Like with the rope, there is some strategy in terms of like pulling yourself into the right leverage and be able to really drive with your quads and run through. But without the rope, it's just a game of like how much you can lean into it and how much traction you can get just with that setup. So I'm probably pushing on a string, but you probably lived it a few times.
Nick, I'm afraid I'm worse on both with and without a rope. I keep getting better, but the others keep getting better and better.
Okay.
So my time keeps getting better, but the others keep tuning in. Because track pool is like this, yeah? Once you get to go, the others see your time and they try to beat it. So they do everything. They probably have a good start, probably a better finish, and maybe it's so hard. It's so hard to really determine, but track pool really puts me off the grid, man. It's not part of my favorite, man. I'm doing whatever I could to get better at it, but it comes down to a lot of factors. Body weight, like I said, heights. Yeah.
Interesting. It's actually one of my favorite events. So maybe if we ever get you a truck pull, I love truck pull. Yeah. I haven't done it too much for the heavyweight contest, so I got to see how I match out. But I might one of these days hopefully get into a truck pull. But it's, yeah, if you're able to get the right steps. But like you see, like someone like, for instance, 2 years ago or last year, you had like Mitch Hooper winning the truck pull. And then in 2022, you had like someone like Novikov, Alexei Novikov winning the truck pull. And he has a frame like ours, like us, no bigger than 140 kilos. So it is possible if with the right, I would say, attack to it.
I have a question. The truck pull was in the final, right?
In 2023, I think it was a final event. Yes, correct.
So the difference when it comes to the final is most of these freaks and most of these guys get out here, and the others like get to prevail. So if I'm right, Kevin De Ruiter, for example, did World's Strongest Man, I think in 23, and the disadvantage, yeah, and Mikatoro, they all had to get out from the group stage. But if they had this in the group stage, it would have been different results because they play a big factor. So who's getting to the final and what stage they're in the final? Because I really observed these things and it was really interesting. So, for example, in the SCL, truck pull is part of the normal show. So it's a show where you get to score points from and everything changes. So I do believe Strongman is like a mix and match and luck.
It's also like about being competent or being good at the flavor of the month or the flavor of the year. Like this, like the beginning of this year, there was a lot of like nickel stones. You also had a lot of sandbag steeplechase. We did see a lot of even I'm trying to think press wise. We had the Viking press at Worlds, which is just a lot of just kind of pure, kind of static, just how good can you do a push press. But for the most part, I would say it's really about being good at what's good right now. But Cosme tuned in. What's up, Cosme? How are you? Would you guys rather pull a fire truck or the monster truck? That's a good question. So it really depends on like how inflated the tires are, but also like the number of axles too. So I would say like a monster truck has a big axle, but they actually, I would say, I think a fire truck would be harder. They did monster trucks I think in Sacramento, maybe in 2021. I had a good video of Mateusz Kieliszkowski pulling a monster truck. And he was able to do it pretty well. So the axles weren't too bothersome for him to kind of overcome the inertia or the friction. But what do you think? Monster truck or fire truck?
I think a fire truck is more harder to pull personally. I'm really bad at this event, but one of the hardest truck pull I've ever done was the tractor. Have you seen the big wheels?
Yes.
Tractor, that's really horrendous, man. Like, because they have big strides. So moving on from one stride to the other takes you a lot. And it stops moving once you stop moving. The tractor pulls are oh my God, it kills you. Truck pull comes in different sizes,
I
different
was
ranges.
so they usually say that the planes, even though they're heavier, are easier to pull just because of the size of the axle. But I think the heaviest thing I ever tried to truck pull was pretty much kind of like an army truck that had like 4 axles maybe, and it was pretty much like a mini tank. And no one could budget that day. I'm glad I didn't pull my biceps out, but it was that was quite interesting. That was quite interesting. But if SCL is listening, no more truck pulls for Evans Nana. So you're in the off season now. And you got any off season goals? Is there anything you're working on or focusing on in order to prepare yourself for 2025?
Yeah, my like you said, is it the Viking presses happened to be one of my challenges because my log presses are very decent. My axle is not too good. Why? Because the cleans really kill me. I just don't know how to clean because you need a very strategic clean method, and these things technicalities really kill me in the dumbbell presses. So I'm looking forward to bettering this, and I'm looking forward to also I'll be very static overall. Deadlift has seen a big improvement, and I'm very happy with that. Looking forward to better my arm overall. I'm looking forward to better my truck pulls. Because, it's strongman, and you need to get ready everywhere. So most importantly, my static lifts would have to really increase this year to be able to prove myself worthy.
Interesting. Now, in terms of like body composition, are you looking to get heavier, stay the same weight? Like, how much did you say you weigh now?
134 kilos.
Okay. All right. Well, I got you beat right now. I'm about 140.
Oh,
so
no,
I'm about 10
way.
I'm 10 kilos heavier. Yeah, I'm about 10 kilos heavier than I was at Worlds.
What
happens when rigatoni, pasta, pizza, antipasto, all of it. Just always eating 4 meals a day. But I've been trying to pack on the pounds. You look smaller though. I'm telling you, I'm gaining weight. I'm leaning up a little bit, but not too much. But but for the most part, for you, Evans, like, what do you think it would be like an ideal weight that you look to compete at?
So before, most of you don't know, but before Strongman, I did powerlifting, and I used to weigh 145 kilos natural before I started my whole diet to drop down to 120. Right. And at 145, I held the Belgian deadlift record, raw on a step bar. I did a 340 kilos double overhand, and that was pretty good. And I was still athletic, so I think a very good weight for me to compete in would be 145 kilos optimally. I think anything above 145 would be very hard. But then because I'd like to gain some pure muscle, it's going to take some time to get there, because 10 kilos of fat is easier to gain. I don't want to have the big belly. I don't want to have the, fatty cheeks and everything. I just want to be conditioned. So it's going to take some time. And I'm up for the ride. So 145, it's going to be a very good body weight to compete in.
Oh, excellent. My goal is, of course, because I've kind of done like analysis and just thinking for like my height and for what I need to do. I want to look like Mariusz Pudzianowski. That's mixed with Tyler Slatlas. So someone that's wide and shredded. So if I could be 137 and with a 6-pack, I would be very, very excited. So that's
really strange. Goal. Like most strongmen are actually really shredded down. I saw Tom's post like today, and he had a proper 6-pack. Like it's been.
He said he's 170.
170 kilos, Tom Stockman.
That's what the story said. Yeah, 100. I couldn't believe it because I think he sits at like 185 when he competes. Yeah, he's looking really lean.
Yeah, he carries it properly. Yeah, he carries 185 very good.
Yeah, so it's gonna be wild to see him for next year. So looking at next year, any big plans right now? Do you have anything you can share at the moment in terms of competition, events, big plans for big life plans? Anything you want to share?
In terms of competition, I'm very confident of the Giants Live World Tour finals. Why? Because Glasgow is my favorite, and I fell in love with the country, Scotland. Literally, I do believe I have some Scottish roots somewhere, maybe in the afterlife. But I love Glasgow, man. The crowd, amazing people. amazing arena. For Worlds, it's really going to be hard because it's come down to I think a short list of 25 athletes instead of 30. So it was actually said to us in advance. So whoever gets to go to Worlds is going to be very lucky because it came down to more political and more financial constraints. So it's going to be a big privilege to be able to join the squad for Worlds this year, or maybe who knows, possibly a reserve spots. I don't know. But in terms of SCL, obviously came second overall last year. This year, sorry. So for next year, I'm already qualified to do the SCLs. So Giants Live in the CL is still going to be on the radar, and I'm probably looking forward to doing one of those big shows from Brian Sean. So it comes down to making it to Worlds and making top 10, So who knows? Like, fingers crossed then. But as far as I'm concerned, World's Strongest Man is going to be very, very hard. It's going to be a big privilege for every athlete. You need to be exceptionally good.
I don't necessarily agree with them kind of shortening the roster pool, right? I would still like kind of to see 30 guys. I think 30 guys have been kind of iconic in there and gives some opportunities to different guys. And then also having six competitors among 5 events kind of lays things out. You okay, Maya? Sorry, it's just my wiener dog. So I would say for the most part, I would say that it condenses things down. So we want more competitors. So for the most part, I would like to say 30 because I think I would be. I think you're in a better spot than me, but I'm kind of a fringe invite right now. So I would hope that they keep it 30.
To be very fair with you, I know in my heart you're going to be doing Europe's Strongest Man. We both know this, which is not announced yet, because you did really good last year, by the way. Based on your last year's performance in Europe.
I hope so.
I believe.
Yeah, so there's 6 more spots left, maybe 30. Hopefully, or 7 more spots.
I'm placing my bets now, guys. Listen, Nick, for Europe's Strongest Man, because you did really good last year. I was really impressed by your composure, because it was your first Giants Live. You handled it really good with the crowd and everything. I said this to you in person as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, and for World.
All right, so so I don't have that guaranteed spot right now. So when you see Darren, when you see Colin on the floor this weekend, just speak into the air, be like, "Hey, Nick Canby needs his spot," so you can start laser focusing on the competition. So I can be ready.
But in terms of,
so we're getting down to. Oh, go ahead, Nana.
So in terms of World's Strongest Man inviting 30 athletes, I do believe I think that's the best option because, I mean, World should give each and everyone an opportunity to shine, to get better, and who knows, like, this is the pinnacle of the sport. Everyone is willing and dying to be a part of it, and if anyone from World's Strongest Man is watching, I do believe, I understand what is happening. It comes down to a lot of constraints and things, but people making the chance to do this, it's like a dream come true for people, and it's worth more than millions or billions or whatsoever. So it's going to come down to making people's dreams come true. 30 is going to be good instead of like 25.
Absolutely, it's knock on wood. We'll make it happen. So what are you asking for? What are you asking Santa for Christmas this year?
Man, a happy life, no injuries. Getting stronger, peace for the world, obviously. I mean, there's so much to ask for, I know. I mean, a peaceful show, less politics in the sports. And, more life for my loved ones, basically. That's what
All right, well, that's very generous. You're thinking of others and not yourself, so that's very generous of you. But we've been pretty positive on the show. But a question that I like to ask all my listeners towards the end is, in the sport of strongman or the sport of fitness or on Instagram culture, is there anything that grinds your gears? So is there anything that gets you mad, or you look online and be like, hey man, that doesn't fly with me?
Yeah.
What ticks you off in the world of strongman and fitness?
So I just had a chat. I just had a chat with I think Zambian athlete. She's a female, and
all right.
Let's not forget strongman comes with strong women as well, right? And strong women is on the spot of growing, getting bigger and better. We both hear strong women complain that they don't have any supports, right? And the sport's not getting bigger. but I've barely seen any strongman literally competing world's strongest woman, which is up for grabs. I do believe certain strongmen only focus on the bigger shows, like the Arnolds, the Rogue, and whatsoever.
Mm.
But Len personally, for example, I got to know and he's doing his best to grow the sport, through his means. Fine, for the men's open, it's a qualifiers to Giants Live and to World's Strongest Man. But for the females, it's like World's Strongest Woman. And some women still don't respect this. Let's not forget, competing in World's Strongest Man or Woman is not for money. It's for the title, for the prestige and privilege. Obviously, Rogue would pay you better. Arnold is going to pay you better. But you being a part of this actually helps the sports get better and grow. Because that's the only sports where inclusion is allowed. People come to showcase their talents. People from India, Australia, people from Africa. It's not based on an invitational means. It's based on a qualificational means. So it's one of the only proper means and genuine means where females get to qualify. So, like I said, I hear females complain about the sports not growing, but yes, still some females exclude themselves from this, and it's really becomes a bit.
That's interesting because you have the Rogue, and they gave the biggest prize pot, just the biggest prize pot for women, which they guaranteed over $100,000 for the first place. You have competitions even like the Olympia for the Americans. So for America's Strongest Woman, it's even another $20,000 prize pot, and they paid out through the first 7. So I can understand maybe for the Zambian athletes, maybe a little tougher in Africa in that scene. But in terms of like the overall this year, I think it's the women's leagues have definitely taken a step forward. But it's really important for them to really showcase well at World's Strongest Woman this year. And that's how you get recognized by Rogue, and that's how you get recognized by the
No.
Arnold.
I
hope that
me,
they're not discouraged, but continue to do it.
I think you misunderstood me. Why would I bring it up this? Like, World's Strongest Woman is happening this week, in the Coliseum, right? But then again, you find most like strongman women exclude themselves from this. They have less promotions from these people. You know what I mean? So for men, we keep promoting the sports. I've seen posts from you, even though you're absent here, you still promote OSG, right? And I've seen other athletes like is it Eddie Williams promote the sports, so people could really tap into it. So I do believe for the men, we kind of have our own promotional means, which goes a long way. But I've seen some women not competing on the top level, not promoting the World's Strongest Woman. You know what I mean? And yet still they cry.
Sure.
So that's where I kind of don't understand what's happening.
All right. So maybe we just have to, maybe they'll listen to the podcast and they'll learn that they have to also pay their dues and help to leave the sport a better place than they originally found it.
Help promote your sports, help promote the category, because the moment, it doesn't matter who's doing it doesn't matter who's showing up, but the moment you show like an involvement, even fly down here if you have the means to, I do understand it's a hard sport, it's very crucial, but the bits and the pieces you could do would really go along when growing the sports of women. I mean, but then again, it comes down to political means, but this is the only concern I had, the genuine concern. Like, big shout outs to Lucy on the down, Rebecca Roberts, who genuinely make time to come do this, And I'm looking forward to seeing the other big names in the women's sports come down to do OSG, like the world's strongest woman, to find out who the real world strongest woman is. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. But absolutely. But I'm excited, but with the Rogue and all, I'm excited that hopefully this might change World's Strongest Woman going forward. Because I said in other podcasts that I would like to see World's Strongest Woman get their own show, like World's Strongest Man, where there's heats, where there's 30 athletes, 25 athletes, how many athletes they want to do, or maybe a big one-day show where they fill a whole stadium for World's Strongest Woman. So that's what I hope for the ladies going forward. So we're wrapping up on the questions. So if you guys have any questions for Mr. Evans Nana, I would put them in the chat right now. Thor Hammers asks, how is competing at the MVM Classic and going against the Toffee King? So the Toffee King being Matthias Kieliskowski.
It was overwhelming and very nice, beautiful, because I had arrived almost like, I think, 4 hours before competition because of flights problems. And it was one of the hardest competitions I've ever done. So having to go to the athletes meeting very cranky with less food, almost no digestion, having to lift in the cold was, it really threw me off. It didn't come down to strength. It came down to how hard you could fight the cold. in terms of breath, in terms of like composure and everything. So I still feel bad for not being able to lift the Husafel because I'm a very fast athlete. I know myself. I've run with almost the 200 kilos in my arms before, but the pickup the pickup of the Husafel came down to fingers, elbows, and everything being froze. Like I just couldn't coordinate anything, slipping backwards. So I still feel bad for that. Yeah, it came down to the Hercules hood as well. I'm really good in handles. I felt like my fingers were being cut through from the cold, from the frost. So it was one of the toughest competition. And Matthias is such a nice person. I got to know him better. Thanks to Liz and Law, so we shared the same ride. So we had like subdivisions of everyone. So my bus was with Matthias, Liz, Laws, Shane Flowers, and the Georgian guy is a Nico. So these are the people I shared my whole journey with. So I got to know Kiliskovsky in person as well, and I got to realize he's just one of us. Because when he came to the deadlift, he was so insecure, and I could see him speak about this genuinely as an athlete. Yeah, I had this injury, I had that injury, and I'm becoming smarter, I'm becoming better. It made me realize, yeah, I mean, the people in the peak of the sports love the sports just like we do, and they pay their dues just like we do. If we want to become just like them, we need to really fall in love with the sports, dream it, breathe it, and eat it. Like his expressions when he doesn't meet up to standards says a lot about this. The disappointment on his face because he demands more from himself. He's a very nice guy. Like Matthias is a true legend, true gentleman. Yeah. And I
Yes,
feel like
I love that he's back. He's back at it and healthy. So I look forward to him keeping that up. So in terms of I would say the last kind of main question of the show. So when everything is said and done, what are you looking to accomplish in the world of strongman?
Thank you so much for this question, Nick. Well, like I said, I started the sports not to make millions or billions, because not everyone is going to be world's strongest man. That's the truth. That's the hard truth, and I have to understand this. So I just want to make an impact. I mean, initiate more Ghanaians and Africans as much as I could do, because just like MMA, Francis Ngannou from Cameroon making an impact, convincing Cameroonians that you don't need to only be educated to make money or living. You could also like fight or use what you have in you to make some money or distant living. I just want to, motivate the youth from Ghana, from Africa, West Africa to be precise. I do have the greats like, is it Mark Felix, Mark Henry, and Iron Baby set up the pace in the sports. And I forgot the name of one black guy who used to always compete against Geoff Cape. Geoff Capes, he was a black man that died. He came second. The closest.
Not OD Wilson.
Yeah, Odie Wilson, yeah. I mean, these guys made numerous massive contributions to the sports, and being here, I'm here to add up to what they've done, to showcase what we have as black athletes, in the sports, because I do believe there is more strength in us than we do think. It comes down to facility, it comes down to belief, it comes down to motivation, toughness, resilience, and everything. So yeah, I just want to be remembered as the guy or one of the people that contributed to the sports, paving the way for the rest to follow. I really don't care about winning titles, or I don't care about being a millionaire. That's the truth. I just want to make an impact, leave a legacy, and probably use strongman as a stepping stone to whatever I'm destined to be. So I'm open-minded for everything that comes my way. But right here in this very time, in this very phase of me being a strongman, I just want to leave a mark. I just want to leave an impact. That's what I'm up about. Like spreading love, spreading possibility, people believing in themselves, and people understanding whatever you put your mind to, whatever you truly dedicate your time to, it pays off. That's why I'm here.
Awesome. Well, great answer. Of course, thank you for sharing with us. So kind of wrapping up. So if people want to follow you, I'm going to have when it's the recorded part of the YouTube, I'm going to have your IG below. But are you on YouTube yet? Are you making your own channel? Do you have plans on YouTube in the future?
Yeah, I'd love to have a YouTube channel. I do believe if I should ever have a YouTube channel, it's gonna be like collabing with people like Aaron Beebe, Mark Felix, like Big Laws, obviously. Going back to Africa, kind of like a strength unknown thing, but then more like an African focus spectrum. Because like I said, I do believe Africa as a continent has 54 countries with different backgrounds and nationalities and everything. And I think it's time for the world to know about strength from Africa. So That's what I'm actually planning, on showcasing on YouTube. But it's going to come down to a team and trying to compose myself with some resources as well. So, yeah, the future, next 2-3 years for sure.
The future. So it's in the works. I love it. So, but guys, don't forget to right now. So he still has his Instagram. So don't forget to follow Evan on Instagram. I'll have that in the description below. And then on my end, guys, still got to figure out. We'll see on what the winners look like this week to see who next guest going to be.
I have a question for you, Nick.
Yeah, tell me.
What pushes you? What drives you? Because you're a champion, man. I got to know about you. You're a legend in the -105 division. As an athlete, what drives you? How do you combine work with this whole strongman thingy? What has been your pushing factor so far?
Mm-hmm. Oh man, I think the first thing, it just comes for love of the sport. I fell in love with it. It just something that I just grabbed onto, and then the ability to not only just meet others, meet individuals like yourself, and travel to different places, but just way to kind of really, I don't know, figure out who I am within the sport of strongman. And I also want to always very super competitive strength. I was always very competitive in strength throughout my whole. I was even in elementary school, high school, leading to college, and leading to a young adult, just always very competitive. So this has been my competitive outlet, but now I've been able to really influence others, and I want to keep driving and one day be world's strongest man, be the first multi-weight class athlete in terms of world strongest man and heavyweight champion. So I always kind of push for that. And I always say that if you're not pushing to be world's strongest man, I don't know if you should be in the sport. Who said, I think you should always strive for perfection. You don't have to be perfect yourself, but you should always just strive for it. So, and then in terms of work, man, just try to be as productive as possible. I have big goals in terms of what I want to do professionally, what I want to do personally, start a family, start businesses. So I want to have it all, and as well as leave an influence and leave a good impact on everybody. My thing is, of course, you want to expand the things in Africa. I would like to expand things in Italy, help the Italian scene, help even the New England scene. So, or even connect America and Italy together more. I always say, we had Guardione on the show recently, and we said that we want to make America Italian again. So that's my goal.
It's a beautiful goal. My last question: how do you deal with fears? How do you deal with insecurities, man? Because this sport comes with a lot of imposter syndromes. How do you deal with that?
You have to just face it head on. You just gotta go after it and see what happens. So a lot of time, even for myself, sometimes do I want to make this video? Do I want to do that? But sometimes you won't really know until you actually put something out there. So you just have to. So in order to face your fears, you got to go right after it. So I'm going to take a quote from my buddy Steve Tripp, who took a quote from someone else. But I guess wild buffalo, when a storm is coming, cows will run away from the storm, but the wild buffalo of the Midwest will go right into the rainstorm. And they know the faster they run through the storm, the faster the storm will pass. So you got to be like the wild buffalo and go right into the storm rather than run from your fears or the storm. So be like the buffalo.
The new name, Italian buffalo, yeah, instead of the stallion.
Hey, that's. I don't think there's any buffalo in Italy, so I guess you could start that. I have a lot of nicknames, so we can add to it. But I want to just go on. Joseph, such a humble guy, another great guest. Of course, he's the best to have on. So there's one more question. That do you have a few more minutes?
Oh yeah, I have time. I made time for this. Like I said,
okay, all right.
It was privilege.
A few more minutes, but. Cosme tuned in. Is like, what do you think about celebrity lifter invites? So if I'm reading your question right, so I'm thinking about like Larry Wheels back in the day where he did the log championships or the log challenge. Maybe when we had Jamal Browner do the deadlift, the deadlift show. Even having someone like even John Hack competing in the 90s this weekend. I would say for the most part, I think it's good for the sport. It's good exposure. And it's good to kind of mix them in. Even though the first two guys I mentioned didn't compete in the full show, they just competed when they're competent. And I think it's a good exposure. But what do you think, Evans? What do you think about celebrity lifters in the sport?
I'm right on what you think. I'm yet to see regular strength. Like, is it? I forgot his name. Is it his real name? Julius.
Yeah, Julius Maddox.
Julius is going to be a very good. Is this presser? in terms of log and Axel, I'm really looking forward for that guy to make an appearance in Strongman. I do believe it's great because there's so much audiences, and even CT Fletcher making an impression at Vegas was a big thing because all bodybuilders began to actually follow a Strongman, and RMBB literally having his background with CT Fletcher coming in Strongman literally helped bring more attention on Strongman. It's a sport that has been there for decades, and it's still yet to have the attention it needs. So anything in any form of advertisement helps it grow to a different level. Having the chance to meet Jamal Browner in person, I mean, such a very good guy and humble guy, was like really cool because the guy has pretty much more big following. And he been able to deadlift. I mean, he been able to bring all these powerlifters into the sports, help the sports really boom up. Because there was a bit of a drama between him and what was his name again? Paul Dwyer. Was really good for the sports. It was genuine. You know, it wasn't brought up. So all of these celebrity lifters, it's a good concept, man. The sports would have to grow to a level. And anything that's positively gonna affect it is a win for the sports. We need to grow in. This podcast, every bits and tips everyone is doing would help it grow. And that's what we need. Yeah, I do believe in the perspective of bringing these people more and more just to do a show as like a halftime show or something.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, but I approve of, especially if there's gifted in that particular event. Why not? All right, one more question, and then before we finish off the show, I got one. What's your favorite memory or funniest moment from World's Strongest Man? Is this year World's Strongest? We could do this year World's Strongest Man. We can do even just, let's just say this year. What's your favorite memory?
I have a lot, man. I have a lot, but was it the after party or was it during competition?
I did enjoy the party on the deck, of course, hanging out with all the guys. And usually when they start drinking, everybody loosens up. So especially like Tristan loosened up with a few beers. So
I mean,
I always enjoy a good after party. I think a good after party is very important in order to bring cohesiveness and network, and in order to build a sport. If you don't have an after party after a strongman show, I think it's a waste.
Dude, you know who I love? The Space Cowboy. The Space Cowboy.
Colin, Mr. Bricey. Absolutely. He's talk about passion and talk about intensity of the sport. He has it all. And I could listen to his stories all day. And he has stories for days too.
Well, he's so creative. I love the way the guy runs stuff. I mean, met him in the Magnus, gonna see him this weekend. And he's not boring. He's so fun to be around. But my favorite moment in World's Strongest Man was when Lewinsky literally broke the rate for height record, coming out with so much confidence and dusting off his hand. Was so iconic, man. It was so epic. Like I still can't get it off my head because I tried to redo this. I think in UCL, finishing all my back tosses and but that moment keeps playing in my head. It was so genuine and so epic. Like having competing your World's Strongest Man in the first year and really showing what you have I had goosebumps from that. It was really beautiful. What do you think? What do you think about that moment? Was Lewinsky been in the match for that?
I love my if we're just talking about Wes, I would say like my moment is when he won the Stones. When he got the Stones over, he kind of had like a power stomp, and it's like his big like profile picture, or you see a lot of good pictures from that. But like that power stomp after the Stones, like when he knew he made it to the finals, I thought that was awesome.
And Austin Andrade, you see what he does, like the boom, boom. Oh God!
Of course. Do you know the Costco guys by any chance? You ever hear we bring the boom song?
No.
That's what we do. We bring the boom. We bring the boom to you. We bring the boom. We bring the boom to everyone. We bring the boom. Your favorite.
You get the point. Now we're having too much fun. All right, So last piece. So what's one more piece of advice you want to leave the listeners to wrap up the show?
Hey guys, you have
And
one
you got to
life.
do it while riding a roller coaster.
Hey guys, you got one life, one chance. Live it. Don't be scared to be a failure. Like Nick said, you need to try this. Go on with the I have a lot to say. You know what? Let me rephrase this again. Yeah, you got one life, one chance. Do the things that scare you, and that's where you're gonna find yourself. Just like the wild buffaloes learn to face the wild coming storm, and once you run into it, it's over. That's how life is supposed to be lived. Be wild, be free, and be resilient. That's it. If you've got a dream, it's only you that could see it. Believe in yourself. Keep pushing hard. That's it.
Great words by a great man. Thank you, Evans Donna.